AITA for calling my coworker a nosy B** titch after she kept insisting to know my husband's salary. My husband and I have, both 33, have been together since college. Over the years, he's had quite the career trajectory. He's a quant PM and makes like 10x what I make. And I make a good salary. Ha. As we've grown wealthier, I've learned that people become nosier. Friends, acquaintances, relatives, you name it. In the beginning, I would entertain the nosy questions, but since I turned 30, I've adopted a take-no-shit attitude. When people ask me how much he makes, I no longer say anything. I've learned the hard way that giving an exact number can have bad consequences. My coworker, 25, is new and she already has quite the reputation. Very chatty, catty, gossipy. You get the gist. You can just tell she craves wealth and status. She wears a bunch of flashy designer items and is always asking the ladies around the office which of the men are single. Last Friday, our office hosted an afternoon happy hour. She approached me and asked how me and my husband's recent vacation to Europe went. I told her it went well and briefly summarized what we did. Then the conversation went something like this. Her. So, what does your husband do? Me. He works in finance. Her. Oh wow, he must make a ton then to be taking you on all these lavish vacations. I hope you don't mind me asking, but how much does he make in a year? Me. Yes. We're very lucky that he makes a good salary. Polite smile. Her. Oh, come on, I won't tell anyone. How much does he rake in a year? Millions? Me. Awkward chuckle. I'd rather not say, but it's up there. Her. What, he doesn't allow you to give an exact number or something? Me. Visibly annoyed. No, I just prefer not to say. Her. Laughs in my face. You'd think the stuck-up one would be the one with money, not the one without. Me. You should learn how to take no for an answer, and when to quit being a nosy bitch. It's a valuable lesson. Then I smiled at her and walked away. Later on, I had a few coworkers reach out to me and say that she was crying and left early, and that I should apologize for calling her a rude name. I refused. I told my mom, and she said I was too rude to the new girl, and that she's young and might not fully understand salary talk. I think she's old enough. Husband is fully on my side, but said maybe I should fake apologize for the sake of office politics, which I somewhat agree with. But still. AITA? Story 2. AITA for freaking out when my wife locked our son out of the house at night after he drank alcohol. I am 39, have a 16-year-old son with my wife of 40. This incident happened a few days ago and she's still mad at me. I was on a work trip, so my wife was at home with our son. When I got back, I found out that he had been hanging out with his friends, and they convinced him to drink some beer, and he got a little drunk. I'm not saying what he did was right, but him and I had a talk about it, and it's fine. The problem is that when he came home and my wife found out, she was furious and kicked him out and refused to let him back in until the morning. He was begging her to let him, but she wouldn't. When I found out, I was furious. Regardless of what he did, she made a slightly drunk teenager stay outside by himself at night. Something very bad could have happened to him. We had a huge argument over it. I asked her how the hell she thought that was okay. She just kept saying that it's our son's fault for drinking alcohol. My wife isn't really talking to me now, and my son isn't talking to his mom. I feel like I'm in the right, but maybe I'm not. AITA. Story 3. AITA for giving F-Mill 3 days to pay me for a new wedding dress, or else I show the family a photo of her wearing it. So I'm getting married to my fiancé soon. I bought my wedding dress weeks ago. My F-Mill kept pestering me about trying it on, but I firmly refused. I finally shut it down after she offered me $100 to let her try it on. Her reasoning for persisting so much? She says it's because of her love for wedding dresses and her obsession with them. Fast forward to yesterday, I came home from work early, and I found my fiancé at home. He freaked out after seeing me and tried to prevent me from going into my room while trying to text somebody on his phone. I opened the door and was shocked to see his mom standing there wearing my dress. I instantly pulled out my phone and took a photo of her in it. She and my fiancé freaked out after I told her that she needed to pay me for a new dress in 3 days or else I'll show the whole family the photo. She started crying and then left, and my fiancé blew up at me saying I can't be serious and that I overreacted because his mom just wanted to try the dress on, no harm done. But I refused to listen to him because, in my opinion, the dress should only be worn by the bride and the bride only. Quite frankly, I felt disgusted looking at the dress again. I don't want it anymore. And so I think it's fair that she pays me after she ruined it for me. He yelled at me. and told me to wake up and stop treating his mom like that as if she was an enemy. We had a fight after he failed to get me to back down, and he's been staying with his mom since then. I felt awful, but I spent $3,000 on this dress and worked hard. To get it, I can't stand looking at it, but people in my family think I'm escalating things and risking my relationship with not only FMIL but my fiancé as well.
Story 4. AITA for saying my wife will have to quit her job if we get booted from another daycare?
My wife and I have a 3-year-old daughter, Alexis. Both of us work, and Alexis has attended daycare since she was 1. In the 2 years since, we have been asked to leave 2 programs because my wife is a micromanager. I admit both of us went into the first program not really understanding daycare. I quickly learned that they can't provide personalized care, and after learning from her teachers, I reset my expectations. My wife, however, has a lot of anxiety and worries about our daughter. She hates when she gets even a little upset. She's in therapy and is working on it. First program, my wife would constantly watch the live feed and call the daycare multiple times a day. We had several talks about it, and the school talked to us twice. My wife ended up screaming at one of the teachers, and then the director. We were terminated immediately. Second daycare was a little better because my wife began therapy. But my wife was still so nervous and had a complaint every single day. These were not important things, small things like she saw another child took a toy from Alexis and she would cry. The teacher would give the toy back to Alexis, but my wife didn't understand why the other child wasn't punished for it. This daycare didn't kick us out, but did eventually suggest that this may not be the best program for us. My wife and I decided to pull Alexis out. My wife because of her anxiety, myself because I knew my wife had burned bridges and was becoming one of those moms. We chose a smaller home daycare this time, as we couldn't afford another center. The woman who owns it is very nice, but also firm. She stands by her boundaries and won't let my wife break any rules, whereas the centers were definitely more accommodating. My wife would take any inch she got. This time, she doesn't get that opportunity. I thought all was well as the owner only speaks to my wife for the most part. Then I get put in a group text saying, my wife has been bombarding the owner with texts every day, despite the owner saying she will text her at lunch when things are settled. She said at this point, she will only be responding at specific times of the day and not looking the rest. The owner then sent several pages of the contract with passages highlighted, reminding us of certain policies my wife had violated. I was pissed. When Alexis went to bed that night, my wife and I talked. I said this was our last option for daycare. The other centers are too expensive, and this was the only home daycare in the area that we like. A nanny is not in our budget. My wife made a million excuses, including that it's not her fault she's anxious. I said if we are asked to leave this program too, my wife will be the one quitting her job to watch Alexis, not me. This upset my wife. I pointed out I've spoken to her kindly about this plenty of times. I encourage her to keep up her therapy, but she can't keep getting us kicked out of programs. My wife is now not speaking to me. AITA,